to talk a lot about redemption in Star Wars, but why do we cheer for some and jeer for others? Let's discuss.
How you get so big getting food of this kind?
Hello and welcome into this video. This is the second installment in a series. The first installment can be found by clicking here. I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't seen it already. I kind of get into the basics of the series and what I mean by redemption within Star Wars, so that we can continue to talk about it. So if you'd please go ahead and watch that before you watch this one, I'd really appreciate it. I'm going to draw heavily upon it and use a lot of definitions I started within that. But otherwise, let's just go ahead and get into the topic of discussion today. And today, rather than getting into a specific character and a specific character's redemption arc, I want to talk about why do we want to see some characters redeemed and not others? What decides if a character deserves redemption or doesn't? Why do audience members attach themselves to one character or another? Also, why are there some characters that we don't want redeemed? We either don't think about redemption, or when the topic of redemption comes up, we are so adamantly against seeing it. What is the motivation behind all of that? As I said last video, redemption is a big topic because of Kylo Ren. There's a large portion of the fanbase cheering for hashtag Bendemption, so sure that he will come home in December. There are also those who do not want this to happen, either out of disdain for the character or out of not wanting to see a story so familiar to that of Darth Vader. But where it seems obvious to wonder about Kylo Ren's redemption, there are so many other characters where this seems less like a question. Why is it that no one ever wondered if it was possible for Palpatine's redemption? What about the other Sith Lords? Pre-Star Wars The Clone Wars TV show, there wasn't much consideration that it could be possible for Count Dooku or Darth Maul to leave the dark side. Even now, it's not a large discussion, mostly because the characters' fates are already sealed, but they are both characters that at least feel a little bit more sympathetic. I think this is largely due to the type of characters we see in these stories. What is it that most characters that we want to see redeemed have in common? Simply put, they're main characters. And this is a generalization, but we are more worried about someone who's perceived as the protagonist than we are for side characters or antagonists. Why? Well, because we're the protagonists. Basically, if we can see ourselves in a character or someone we care about in a character, then we're more tied into what's going to happen to that character. We want to see ourselves redeemed or our loved ones redeemed. We don't want to see ourselves condemned or those that we care about condemned. It's a psychological connection. We want to believe in our own abilities to be good, or for our loved ones to have the ability to be good. Characters like Palpatine or Snoke are the Star Wars equivalent of the devil. They are the tempters. They are the manipulators and the abusers. They corrupt and they destroy. For me personally, I don't look for redemption in a character like that, mostly because it wouldn't serve the story. What is the point of a morality tale if there is no evil? Someone has to be the bad guy. And this is why there is such a discussion around Kylo Ren. He's someone that many see themselves in. He's someone that represents aggressors for others. You've got fans that see him as the manipulated and the abused fallen hero, and you have fans that see him as the ultimate roadblock in Rey's journey. In the case of Vader, it's really difficult for me to figure out how I would have felt about him if I were experiencing his story as it was released. He was the uncompromising villain for 2 films. We don't even know that he's related to Luke until the very end of the middle act. There's no reason to want him to become good again. We didn't know that he was ever good to begin with. Having only met the Emperor in a hologram, Vader was the representation of the devil, not his master. In Return of the Jedi, we learned that Vader was controlled, that he feared someone else. We also learned that Luke cares. Our motivations for Vader are born more from our feelings for Luke than they are for the Sith Lord himself. Because Luke wants Vader to be good, we want that too. Then we get to the prequels and the story opens up. Suddenly we get the chance to know and understand that Vader isn't the devil. He's a warning to how easily we can fall to our own temptations. And for more on that point, conveniently enough, I did another video. Okay, let's keep going. For another example, look at Revan from Legends Canon. I'm about to spoil a 16-year-old video game here, so please be warned if you haven't played Knights of the Old Republic. But there's a reason why Darth Revan has such a following. We are Darth Revan. It didn't matter when you played that game if you played it like a true Jedi or gave into your darker side. When you learn that you're not just trying to stop the Sith Lord, but that you are the Sith Lord, it's mind-blowing. It's game-changing, literally. If you were like me and trying to play as the good person the entire game, suddenly every good deed you did was just wiped away. It didn't matter anymore. I wanted Revan redeemed because I was literally Revan, and I wanted to make up for every wrong thing I didn't remember doing in that game. So we want characters redeemed because we care about them, or we feel like we're them. I often see people talking about this from the perspective of, so-and-so can't be redeemed, he's done too much such and such stuff, but that misses the point of redemption entirely. That point forgets that Vader and Revan were both responsible for genocide. What really happens is when you care about a character in such a way where you feel like you're them, you want to see them turn. And when you don't like a character, be it you love to hate them or you just don't like them, you want them to be the character that dies so that the characters you do like can live. In the case of Kylo Ren, we learn in the first act of his trilogy that he is the son of Han and Leia, the grandson of Anakin and Padme. Though he's evil at this point in time, murdering a helpless old man and slaughtering villages, we've reason to believe that he at least could have been a hero. Unlike Vader, where audiences would retroactively come to care, we have reason to care from the start. He may not be the last Jedi, but he is the last Skywalker. Those who are mad that Rey can come all up in their Star Wars with her no name, as if that means that Star Wars rejects all lineage, are themselves rejecting Kylo Ren. In fact, the sequel trilogy is saying both that your family and your own worth are important, not that it's one or the other. But that's getting a little bit off topic. Really, my point is, don't be so quick to dismiss who Ben Solo is. Quick disclaimer, just to set the record straight, if you don't like Kylo Ren because he reminds you of someone horrible in your life, a manipulator or an abuser, I'm not here to dismiss that or say that you're wrong. You have every right to not like a character for your own personal reasons, especially if that character reminds you of pain. What I'm trying to say, though, is that there are some people who relate to Kylo because of the pain he's going through. Neither of you are wrong. The point isn't that there's a correct interpretation of Kylo Ren. The point is that we can all sit down, have a discussion in good faith, with the goal of having fun, and say our reasons for who we like and who we don't, and just enjoy Star Wars, right? The moment we get into debate and insulting people for the reasons why they feel a thing for a character that's tied to something so personal within themselves, like what their own life has been like, is a point when we're losing sight of what we're talking about. I'm just going to say that. I don't want to exclude anyone who might not like Kylo for their own life reasons. That's valid. I'm just saying that there are other people who have their own valid responses for liking him as well. In terms of Kylo, what I've been trying to say is that his case is muddied in fandom because he means something different to different people. And like it or not, that's a sign that he's actually a well-written and deep character. But this isn't really a video specifically about Kylo as much as he proves the point I'm trying to make. For some people, he is, and will always be, the villain. And in fairy tales, the villain isn't supposed to be redeemed. But for others, Kylo is one of the heroes trying to find his way back. And that's really the difference in the core of the debate. I know people who hold up his list of sins, and I don't even really mind that as an argument if and only if the person with that issue has the same issue with characters like Vader or any other hero who's considered redeemed within the Star Wars universe. But the point of redemption is that no one is beyond it. If it's earned, it isn't really redemption. Remember in my previous video I talked about how there's a difference between redemption and atonement. I don't know that I believe that Kylo can ever truly atone for what he's done, but that doesn't mean his heart can't be changed. The topic of redemption in the sequel trilogy is an interesting one to me. While there will always be some people who wonder, there is no large fandom conversation about a redeemed Hux or Phasma. Those who wish that Snoke was still alive wish it because they wanted to see him as the villain still, not because they loved him. Finn, arguably, has a redemption arc. He was a stormtrooper sent to slaughter innocents. He was a part of the First Order and is now a Resistance hero. No one questions it or says that he needs to stay evil because he's a sympathetic character. Maybe his laundry list of sins is shorter, but he was still one of the bad guys since childhood. Kylo is the wild card character, and that's why there's so much discussion. And that discussion, as long as it's respectful and thoughtful and done in the spirit of fun and making Star Wars enjoyable for everyone, is a good thing, I think. It's only when we get away from the goal of Star Wars is supposed to be fun that we start to see problems. But really with this video, I just kind of wanted to lay down some groundwork to talk about the framework of why do we want redemption at all? And I think that is an important question to ask as we start looking at some of these characters individually. So with that, with the next video, I will do what I actually promised to do and start looking at specific characters on a case-by-case basis. If there's a specific character in canon or Legends that you want me to talk about, please leave it in a comment. I would love to know what stories are important to you. Please be patient with me as I go through this series. A lot of this I try to write ahead more than I do with my other videos, and with some of the specific characters I'm going to need to do some research and some rereading. So I will get these out as timely as I can, but I would love to hear also in the comments what characters draw you in, what characters did you want to see redeemed and maybe weren't, or characters that you would like to see redeemed in the future, and just talk about the topic in general. I really want to discuss this with you guys. With that, please follow us on all the socials. It's always a good way to reach out to us, and I highly encourage you to join our Discord if you really like this kind of discussion, because it's a much better platform to discuss these things than YouTube comments, even though I absolutely adore our comment section. You guys are all amazing. But with that, I'm going to leave you guys here. I'll see you at the next video. More stuff coming out as we get more and more Star Wars news, and until next time, keep it real and fly casual.
Cooking can be fun.